The release of Dragon's Rising Season 3 Part 2 has brought on a whole multitude of new theories. Some to do with Season 3 Part 2 itself, some to do with Season 4, and maybe some even to do with what came before now. And I absolutely love all these theories that the community comes up with. I think a lot of them have a lot of validity to them, and I think a lot of them honestly are going to be the case. So I absolutely love to hear what you guys have to say about it, and that is why I asked for your opinion on your theories to do with the new season. And in similar vein to last week where we talked about hot takes, which if you haven't seen, go and do so, this week we're going to be talking about theories, and I have selected 6 of them for you guys to hear out today, and of course I'm going to give my opinion on them as well. And yeah, if you want more theory videos, please let me know, and leave your theories down below because I absolutely adore to make them. But let me not waste any more of your time, and let's talk about some more Ninjago theories. The first one is coming from Hypnoscales. Hello my friend, and you have 2 theories. The first one is the writers chose Cole to be hollowed so he could be in the monastery and have a bigger role in season 4, as he's the only one not stranded. And honestly, I never considered it that way until now, and I actually think you're kind of onto something here. Cole being the only one of the hollowed ninja was always something that was very interesting to me, because it never really made too much sense in a vacuum when I first saw it. But when considering what you have said here, it actually makes a lot of sense. If Cole is the only one in the monastery, it does give him the opportunity to be able to approach the situation at a very different angle. You can actually see how he gets to react to the fact that all the ninja are just completely missing. Honestly, I like this, and I actually think it's a really good way of explaining out how things are going to go when it comes to Cole. Because like you said, it does give him the opportunity to have a bigger role. It lets him actually maybe do something, confront Raz, it lets him actually have something to do, maybe even with the Finders. Honestly, I do think there's a lot of potential, and I do hope you're correct, because it means Cole will be taken advantage of in Season 4. Also, you could have Zane return as well, and have the 2 of them come together and have their own mission in similar vein to Season 2 Part 1. Honestly, there's a lot of potential when you think about it, and I'm glad you've actually pointed this out to me, so I thoroughly agree with you here on this, and I'm hoping that this is actually the case. Your second theory is Jay's arc I can see being similar to Garmadon, with him wanting to be good and unable to control himself. This would be a great way to also reintroduce Garmadon to the story to help Jay. Also, he knows about Shatterspin, so may be able to help reverse it. And again, you are 2 for 2. I honestly think there would be no better way than this to introduce Garmadon back into the story. I think this would be a fantastic instance and a really good way to get Jay back to where he was before. I think having Garmadon be back in the mentor role, have him maybe be more evolved in comparison to how we saw him in Crystallize, I think this is honestly the perfect opportunity to not only help Jay, but also reintroduce Garmadon like you said. Because like you said, his knowledge on Shatterspin may actually be able to thing that helps reverse it. So Hypnoscales, you have gone 2 for 2. Both of these theories, in my opinion, are absolutely fantastic, and if they're now not the case, I'm going to be extremely disappointed. Thank you very much, my friend. The second person for the theories today is It's Just Me. Hi, hello my friend, and you said you have a theory. Maybe Master Wu turned himself into a spell to make sure all the ninja were fine, kinda like the skeleton lady that was a spell turned human. Maybe he was a human turned spell/spirit, that way he could guide the ninja and keep all the realms connected, and that's why he was able to be trapped like Bonzel at the end of Season 3. I don't know, it's weird, and honestly, I do fully agree with you on this. I made a theory a while ago in a video called Will Master Wu Return to Dragon's Rising, and I talk about this very concept where Wu potentially, in this spell or spirit form, is just simply a product to keep everything together, and that's how the portal gates exist, and that's how all the other intertwining things from Dragon's Rising is actually being held together. I believe Wu to an extent is in multiple pieces, and that is how he's helping the ninja in a lot of different ways. Honestly, I'm very curious to know what's actually within the box. Is it a fully completed soul of Master Wu? Is it separate parts of Wu? Honestly, it will confirm a lot of different theories as to the current state of Wu, but I do believe you have a point where he's just trying to help the ninja in any way he can. I mean, Season 2 Part 2 also kind of confirms this, because we do have a lot of instances of Wu guiding the ninja in a certain direction, and even in Season 3 Part 2 we got to see this when the ninja unearthed the Source Dragon. So it is definitely a case of Wu's definitely trying his best to help the ninja where he can, and like I said, it would just be very curious to know the actual state of the spell and spirit he actually is in. So I do agree with you, it's just me, and it is a very good theory, so thank you very much. Also, Cole's soul does look different, and it's down to elemental power, because in Season 3 Part 1, Lloyd's is green when Thunderfang absorbs it, so it just does seem to come down to what element is actually the case. So Kai's will be red, Jay's will be blue, Zane's will be white, etc. The third theory is coming from Shiroi Yukiheim? I think I've got that correct. Hello, my friend, and I am sorry, but you said you have a theory about Source Dragon icons. You said in Season 2 Part 2, Raz's goal is to use elemental power to make Source Dragon icons, but in Season 3 Part 2, he makes them without them via sacrifice. Could there be a forge for each Source Dragon that makes an icon scattered across the realms that require different methods for creation? I am not entirely certain on this, but I do have an idea, but I don't agree. The nature of Raz's plan has been very interesting to me, and I do have an idea for his plan coming up soon for a video, but I will say that his method when it comes to his goal has always been quite interesting to say the least. I do think to an extent it's not a case of different forges for different dragon icons. I do think to an extent it is just that one inside of the underworld, but I do think that Raz needing elemental power could have been a different way to have gone about it. Personally speaking, I think there is only the one forge. I think it's only that one there that he could have used, but I do think the elemental power would essentially have just been a cheat code when it comes to actually getting Source Dragon icons. Remember, he had all of the elemental power apart from the power of fire. So it is definitely a case of there would have been a lot of elemental energy and a lot of power coursing through Noct. And with that kind of power, I mean, Chen kind of says it himself, it is a lot, and it's a lot of empower to embrace. So I do think to an extent, with that much elemental energy, you could just theoretically just bypass the forge, and using all that power along with the Source Dragon energy, it would just be able to create icons without the use of the forge. And I do think that kind of explains away why he needed elemental power, but now he doesn't. Like I said, it seems essentially like a cheat code, and in Season 3 Part 2, it kind of proves it to me because we see Raz struggling to find the location of the underworld. He felt like it was almost an inconvenience to him, so it basically just sounds like he had to go the long way to get what he needed, and that's why I think he required the elemental power. But yeah, I do think you're somewhat onto something, and I do think it could have been a cool concept, but I do think as of now, I kind of just consider the elemental power to be a cheat code for what he had to basically do in the long way. But you also had the fourth theory, so hello again, and you said another theory. It seems that the ninja and all elemental masters seem to have lost their power or will have trouble controlling them. Maybe the ninja could go through another true potential to fully master them, and with that, I do agree with you, but I do want to change it a little bit. Like you said, yes, the ninja are having trouble controlling their power, and I do think having them go through something to be able to remaster their power would be interesting, but I do think also it would make the Source Dragons almost irrelevant. I don't know how else to really put it. The thing is that if the ninja learn to utilize their power independently from the Source Dragons, then it means the Source Dragons never really had the power to begin with. And I do think that would be a very interesting concept, and it'd be very interesting to see what the Source Dragons would do in the event of that situation, but I don't think it's something that they want to go down the route of, because at the same time, like I said, it would make the Source Dragons obsolete, and then what was the point in even having them? It is a very interesting concept though, don't get me wrong, and I do think it would be cool to see the ninja really get in tune with their elemental power once more. It's just, it would be very debatable at best. I really don't know how else to put it, because like I said, I don't really want the Source Dragons to become irrelevant, but at the same time, having the ninja really connect with their powers once more would be really cool, and it would definitely be really interesting to see, especially given the context of we're meant to be learning more about, for example, the power of Lloyd. But I do think this is an interesting one, and honestly, if it was the case, I wouldn't be fully mad. I just think there would be other implications at the same time. But thank you very much for both of your theories. I'm not going to try and repronounce your name though, I'm so sorry. The fifth theory is coming from Bernard. Hello my friend, and you are also on the exact same page about Source Dragon energy. Your theory is that the ninja, because they can't use them, they will have to go and collect items that still have some Source Dragon energy to be able to beat the threat of the season. So the separate ninja teams will have to collect those items to beat the villain. And honestly, this is again another interesting concept, but but I'd be curious to know how it would actually be executed. For one, you would have to consider how many items out there actually have Source Dragon energy. It doesn't really seem to be something that's all that common, so it would be very interesting to note what would actually be out there. And then at the same time, you would also have to consider that Raz probably has a monopoly on these items. So it would be very interesting to see this concept, but I feel like they would have to have the right reason to introduce just more Source Dragon energy into the actual realms. Because, like we said, it seems to be that Raz had a hard time getting what he actually did have. The other thing you'd have to consider is how would they actually utilize it if they did have a physical manifestation of Source Dragon energy? Would it be a case of they just need to have it on their person for it to work, or would there be some other way to be able to channel it? Those are honestly the questions, and if this was the case, I wouldn't be mad at all. But the thing is that I would just need for it to be more explained away for them to actually have it make sense. But I do like the idea, and it would be a really cool way to defeat the villain of the season. But like I said, I just feel like it needs a little more. But I do actually really like this theory, Bernard. Thank you very much, my friend. And the last theory for today is coming from Rubber Duck Boy 123. Hello, my friend. And your theory is about Season 3 as a whole. But you think that when the souls move on, they end up in the same place that we see the first Spinjitzu Master at the end of March of the Oni. And honestly, I really like this theory. The concept of all the souls moving on to the grassland to have the first Spinjitzu Master greet them is honestly really cool to actually think about. I do think it'd be a very nice way to tie things together, really tie together the legacy of the first Spinjitzu Master, really solidify himself as the creator of the realm, and have him as this almost godlike being. I think it would be really cool that he's the one that's waiting at the other end of the tunnel. And like I said, having it at the grassland would also be very cool, because it's represented as a form of paradise. Is represented as the perfect space, the perfect place that anyone would want to be. And honestly, if the first Spinjitzu Master is greeting everyone into that land, I do think it would be a very cool concept to actually have. Because honestly, what else is there? There's not really much else to really have them go to that's not really anything worth it. So, I actually do fully agree with you, and I hope this truly is the case. I don't think we'd ever have confirmation of this fact, but I do actually think for the most part that this would be a very nice way to think about it when it comes to those souls. Because in the end, if when they move on, they go to paradise, I think that is no better ending when it comes down to it. But yeah, if this is never confirmed, this is going to be officially my headcanon. Thank you very much, Rubber Duck Boy. But those are all of my theories for today. I think honestly there are a lot of really interesting ones, a lot of interesting concepts, and I'm definitely walking away from this video with a lot more hope for a lot of these things to actually become the case. I think we've had some fantastic ones about elemental power, Source Dragon energy, the afterlife, and what's next for characters like Cole. I think there's a lot of really cool concepts here, and I would like to know your opinion on all of these, because I think for the most part, these are all fantastic theories, and the most part is just the one that I wanted to change slightly. Sorry if that's really bad wording. But like I said, I would love to know your opinion on these, because I think these are some of the best theories we've had in any of these videos. And of course, like always, please leave your theories down in the comment section down below. The more creation of conversation I can make, the better, because I love these type of discussions, and it's clear that you guys like them as well. So I would like to carry this on and go forward with these amazing discussions about Ninjago. And like always, the only thing I ask is to keep it civil. But like I said as well, let me know what you think of everything, because I am very much curious. But that is about it for today, you guys, and thank you very much for watching. Take care. Okay,